Joining us now from Nice, France, is Mark Krikorian. He was in his apartment. He's traveling there with his family when he heard the commotion outside. Mark, thank you for being with us this morning, and tell us what you saw, what happened. I know you had just been at the fireworks display with your family and had just gotten home.
They were just like in the 4th of July. Everything was normal, lots of people, kids on their shoulders. And then when it ended, I turned around. A lot of people did and started leaving, but there was musical performances continuing, so a lot of people stayed. And as soon as I got back to my apartment, which was just a couple blocks away, right outside our window, which overlooks a pedestrian mall with cafes and stores and things, we started to hear screaming. I mean, hysterical screaming, running, people knocking tables over, glass shattering. And we looked out, people were obviously running for their lives. I assumed it was some kind of shooter or some kind of attack. I mean, that's the obvious thing. And, my kids were gawking out the window. I told them to get away from the window because didn't have any idea what was going on. And then once things settled down right outside my window, I, much to my chagrin, went out to see how close I could get and see what was going on. And the police had a police line set up, so I couldn't get right to where the actual carnage was. But you could see not just all of the police presence and everything, but a constant flow. Even 2 hours later, there were still ambulances arriving, presumably from farther away. And then the most grim thing I saw was a whole convoy of minivans from the Nice City Coroner's Office arriving to do their work.
Mark, I can't imagine walking out into this beautiful promenade, and just moments ago you were there celebrating Bastille Day, and then to see what you saw. Can you describe what you were feeling, thinking as you witnessed all of this?
Before we came, I actually had kind of researched whether there were going to be large-scale crowd events here in Nice, is the kind of thing that would attract terrorists. And the European soccer finals had just finished. Several of the matches were here, but that was weeks before we got here, and I figured, well, that's okay. I completely overlooked the idea that Bastille Day, of course, is a huge event everywhere in France. It's their big 4th of July. And so yeah, I mean, I was actually not all that surprised once I found out what happened.
That's certainly a sad commentary in the times we live in. As a father, you're there with your family, you're traveling in France, a lot of Americans traveling to Europe this summer with their families. How do you feel about having your family there? Do you want to get back to the States? What do you say to other travelers who are headed there in the next days and weeks to come?
Well, I mean, we have 2 weeks left on this apartment, and at this point, Nice is the safest place in all of France. I mean, they've got soldiers and police every place, so I'm not going anywhere. You can't predict this kind of thing. It's going to happen. You can't put your life on hold just because of the possibility of this sort of thing. I mean, look, I live in Washington D.C., and there's every day I go to work, there's a possibility something like this could happen. You can't paralyze yourself because of it.
Well, Mark Krikorian, we are glad that you and your family are safe, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.